ਲੇਬਰ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਪ੍ਰਿਯੰਕਾ ਰਾਧਾ ਕ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਨ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਗੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਵੱਖ-ਵੱਖ ਮੁੱਦਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੋਰਟਫੋਲੀਓਜ਼ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਲਓ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦ ਸ਼ੋ, ਪ੍ਰਿਯੰਕਾ।
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ, and thank you.
Well done, well done. Priyanka, there are a few questions about how are Kiwis supported with the cost of living right now?
Yes, so that is an issue, has been an issue for a while, and the government's position has always been that the causes or the drivers of the cost of living pressures lie largely outside of our control. If you look at the war in Ukraine and things like that have contributed to global inflation increasing. We're seeing this, across the world, and we're not immune to it. But the one thing that we have always said we can do is to mitigate the impact of that on Kiwis, and that's what we have been doing. So whether you look at the cost of living payments that were put in place, the reduction to the fuel excise or half-price public transport, and now from the 1st of April, the changes that have kicked in that will boost the incomes of 1.4 million Kiwis, including our pensioners, our students, and our families, including those with newborns. The Best Start payment has gone up as well, and that particularly helps with the cost of a newborn. So 1.4 million Kiwis, we're seeing a significant boost to their incomes, and that's part of what we're doing to ensure that we continue to mitigate the impact of the cost of living pressures that people are feeling.
So what is your views on the rise in living wages from September 2023 to 26 an hour?
The living wage, did you say?
Yeah.
Yes. So the living wage really is, so there are two differences, right? There's a difference between the living wage and the minimum wage.
Yep.
The minimum wage is an amount that is set by law, and it's really the wage floor. So that is that goes up so that you focus on reducing exploitation in return for labour. The living wage is a voluntary scheme, and it's an aspirational amount. So it's set by the Living Wage Movement Aotearoa New Zealand. That's a group that is made up of faith-based communities, unions, and other community groups as well. And that's gone up, as you've mentioned, will rise to $26 an hour. So they base that on the hourly wage that a worker needs in order to be able to pay for the necessities of life and to participate in their community. So a little bit of a difference there. The minimum wage is what government is responsible for, and by law has to review every year. And that's what we do. That's what we lift, so that those on the lowest wages in New Zealand, our lowest paid workers, get a bit of a boost to be able to deal with things like cost of living and so on and so forth. The living wage is aspirational.
Wonderful, wonderful. As a minister of ethnic communities, Priyanka, I would love to know, how can we improve the access to the healthcare for the ethnic communities?
Yes. So one of the priorities of the Ministry for Ethnic Communities is to ensure that government services are responsive to the needs and the aspirations of our communities, basically. Of that, health is an area that gets raised quite a lot. And so the ministry and for myself, this is an area that is a priority. You'll be aware that we are in the process of reforming our healthcare system and setting out the New Zealand Health Strategy. Yep. And in that, it is incredibly important that the voices of our ethnic communities comes through strongly, basically.
Yes.
And this is where having a ministry is crucial, because previously, the way that the public service works, a lot of these conversations, some of it will happen at the ministerial level. A lot of the operational change happens at the chief executive level. Okay. So prior to the establishment of the ministry, our communities didn't have a voice there. I mean, we did. It was the CEO of DIA, but he had 6 different portfolios to represent. So there wasn't one voice there at the table that represented the needs of our communities. We have that now in the chief executive in Mervyn Singham. So there's been a fair bit of work that has been undertaken, conversations between the Ministry for Ethnic Communities and Health, and coming through from that, or stemming from that, there have been 26 engagement sessions across the country where we have been facilitating that voice from our ethnic communities to come through and to be heard by health as well. So that is an ongoing piece of work. It'll help to ensure that the strategy, health strategy, is more accessible and that it's equitable and that it involves or responds to the needs of our communities as well. And there will be 3 online engagements in April. So if anyone's interested in being part of that, just keep an eye on the ministry's channels, whether it's the newsletter or their social media, Facebook page, and so on and so forth.
Excellent. We all know about your aroha towards Aotearoa, but precisely looking at your photos in Onehunga, update on Auckland Light Rail.
Yes, so that is a big issue for local communities in Onehunga at the moment. I'm definitely a proponent for Auckland Light Rail.
Yes.
I think that a city of our size and scale, the fact that we don't have a metro system is a travesty. We need to have that because, you know this as an Aucklander yourself, we spend way too much time in gridlock traffic.
Exactly.
That's because for decades we haven't had the investment in a public transport network. Auckland Light Rail is part of that. It will ensure that people can travel between the city and Maingere and the airport in a way that's quick. And the idea there would be to, expand that as and when possible as well. It goes through Onehunga. There are currently 2 options for local communities, and the Auckland Light Rail team has been actually doing a really good job engaging with local communities on the 2 options. Mm-hmm. One would go via the lagoon and then down to Maingere, and the other proposed route goes right through Onehunga. It uses the Kiwi Rail designated land. This is a large tract of land that was designated 80 years ago for heavy rail. So the options that they are consulting on include a heavy rail option as well, which will largely be freight, which is a good thing because we need to get our freight and trucks off the road as much as we can to free up the road for others as well. But it will involve a fair bit of disruption through the community's houses. I think it crosses about 16 road crossings as well. So understandably, there's a little bit of angst that I've heard from my constituents who are wanting a little bit more clarity on the detail that sits beneath both of these options as well. So that's something I'm working through. I've met with the Auckland Light Rail team and the board chair, Dame Fran Wild, and relayed the concerns that I'm hearing as well to them. And I'm sort of facilitating dialogue between some of our key stakeholders and the team. So that work is underway, and it will need to happen quite quickly because the team is moving as quickly as they can. But equally, they do want to ensure that they get good, genuine feedback from local. And I'm very pleased to be able to facilitate some of that as well because I think it's important.
Excellent. In the meantime, I have seen your interaction with the public on Love Better campaign. What is it?
Yes. So that is a really exciting campaign that we launched last month. It is a world-leading approach. There's no one else that's actually doing or who's spearheading a campaign quite like this, which involves young people's voices in it. It's one that is based on a fair bit of research that has taken place that included about 1,200 young people who were part of that. They told us that they need a bit more support with relationships and particularly breakups.
Yep.
Because, everyone knows that breakups are difficult, that they hurt, but when there is a significant number of young people telling you that they have either experienced harm or that they have perpetrated harm on someone else in the course of a breakup, that is concerning. So this is a campaign that really includes young people's voices about what they're going through and experiencing. It also gives them strategies and tools to be able to deal with breakups and to be able to distinguish between what is the normal hurt of a breakup and what is harmful behavior. So it sets them up then for future relationships to be able to, both distinguish between those, but also to be able to cope with them in the future.
Excellent. Last but not least, Priyanka, I have met few of my Sikh brothers last night in a beautiful eatery, and they were asking me about 5Ks. Is there any progress on 5Ks issue? I mean, we know there's Bill of Rights already in place, but just out of the blue, they asked me this question. And if you have any updates, you can share now.
Yeah. So the issue there was mostly around the kirpan. So one of the 5 Ks. And that is something that had been raised with myself and with the former Prime Minister as well when we visited one of the Gurdwaras.
Okay.
Just there seems to be a little bit of confusion as to when it can be carried and when it can't be. So what I had asked the Ministry for ethnic communities to do was to engage with our Sikh community, which they have done.
Okay.
And also to look across the suite of what different guidance exists across different government agencies, and to look at what we might be able to do to clarify that and to provide a little bit of clarity. So that work is underway, and when there is a bit more to share, then I'd be very happy to do that with you.
Wonderful. So what is your preparation for the upcoming elections?
Oh, yeah, I mean, everything's going to ramp up in terms of engagement and, just working on the ground in my electorate and more broadly as well. I mean, it'll really be about ensuring that we communicate to voters what we have done while we've been in office. There's been a fair bit that we have progressed in terms of the various areas we campaigned on both in 2017 and 2020. And my focus and that of my colleagues will be to be out there at the grassroots level telling that story so that people, have a reason to vote us back in.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much for your time and wisdom of your knowledge, and keep up good work, Priyanka.
Thank you so much, and thank you as always for the opportunity. Happy Easter to you and everyone else as well.
Same to you. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.